So, where did we leave off? In building the fantasy console in C# game console. So this is our baseline menu system. I still got to figure out how to get this centered correctly. The scaling's working, but the centering is not working. I need to... The idea is we're going to go through create program, enter a name, game 1, and then we're going to enter, and enter was going to bring us to, if I look at the kind of sheet I came up here, this screen to launch the editor. One thing though is that my text entry here is all foobarred, so it seems to work in terms of how it needs to work, but it needs to come in as a character string or a character stream that then I need to convert to a string rather than just trying to treat every character like a stream, because when you enter something like a backspace character, it's not an actual printable character, or the enter key. They come in as the \B or the \N, and you got to do interpretations of those things. So what I'm going to do here is start at the root and kind of work my way through. So in MonoGame, you can attach yourself to the window and get text input. So there's an event. So every time you enter text, this event fires and you get this character. Now what I was doing, I was treating this as a string builder of text. And really this needs to be more like a character like buffer, maybe with some fixed sizes that eventually goes out. So I'm just going to keep building on here. You notice I put different things in the same file. I've kind of gotten away from the idea that every single little thing has to have its own file. I guess if the coding standards at a place dictate that, it's fine. It feels so much cleaner to me to just include like things that are all related in the same file sometimes. So anyways, this will be a class, I believe. That will be a input text input buffer. And what I'm going to have is an array of characters that can come in. Now one thing I'm trying to do with this is having the idea that you should be able to poke into any of these things and change out the values byte by byte. One thing with chars is I wonder with wide characters, chars should be bytes and should only cover ASCII, I would think, but I don't know how you do UTF-8 characters in them. I'll have to think about that later. I'm not too worried about this right now. I'm not worried about a lot of stuff right now. I just want to get this thing working. So we're just going to allocate some arbitrary amount to this. And it's going to be, let's go with power of 2. Let's go with 64. That should be more than what's humanly possible, but maybe a machine, not a machine possibility. I don't know, who knows. Hello, who does ever watching me, assuming it's not myself. I'm not sure exactly how that works, but okay. So with this then, I think I had on the string builder, there was an append and a clear that I was using. So I'm just going to keep that same thing. And to do the append here, I wish there was a stir cat like they have in C, but I'm probably going to have to keep an index to the foremost value, maybe. And then I'm going to have a clear. I could keep it. Well, I was going to say a pointer, but I don't think... Well, you can do pointers in C#, but you don't do pointers in C#. Anyways, so public void clear. I think these are the two things from string builder I was currently using. And then I had a toString that I'll have to figure out on the other end. So, so when we get this, we will go data, add the index. I'm just going to do it like this so that if you did ever hit the end, it would just wrap. So index will always point to the next available index. Yeah, so you start at 0 and you go up. And so, incidentally, the index is actually the length of your string at this point. Or the sequence of characters, rather, that's coming in. So clear, in this case, is literally just setting the index back to 0. However, I feel like I should clean out that buffer somehow. Or for some reason. I don't know if there's a quicker way to do this. There might be like an array.clear. That might do what I'm wanting it to do. Sets to the default value, so that should be back to 0, which is good. And this is a text buffer, it's a text input buffer. But what is so? I have a. This is going to get a little confusing, the input ones versus the actual display buffer. So I might have to rename text text buffer, which I think is here, to text text display buffer or something like that, or display text. Yeah, anyways, something like that. So I should be technically good here, except for the fact that I need to change the way that this is interpreted by this. So we have this name buffer, and we can't just do a toString on this. In fact, you can't really even get text at all. What you're getting is like a stream of characters. So this would return we'll get these names cleaned up later. So we're going to go in here. We're going to copy the I wonder if I should just make this an enumerable instead. Because essentially that's what I want to do, is just enumerate through. Never used this second explicit. Or doubt this is a infinite loop. This just feels like one of those things I'm always just like, what is this here for? But this is what I really want to do. This might be a little bit dangerous. Because, I mean, if you mutate the string before you go, or the collection. Nah, we're not doing anything like that. I mean, before you go through the, so it's index, so it should be less than with one item in there. So index is really like a length here. Maybe I should call it length. Anyways. What am I doing? So instead of doing that, well, geez, I'm looking at just getting this anyways. Hold this for now. So this is a numerator. No. Just return its buffer itself. This doesn't feel quite that clean, but I'll figure it out later. I did take breaks, Scott. I'm just like in a total, like, I'm just really excited about working on this right now. I don't know why. It's been a while since I've been really had a urge to code for fun and I just wanted to. I'm too long. And this feels all dirty, but it feels, it's kind of fun just doing this, so. What did I have there? Let's see. Yeah, input text. I don't know why I feel like that should be in a variable. I don't think it matters. This is only going to get the enumerable once. What am I doing? Okay, so each one. So now I have to interpret the characters to figure out what I actually need to enter into it. So under normal situations, so default would be what I had been doing, which is take the name buffer and append C to it. But in the case of a, let's say, backspace, then I need to take one off the name buffer. What's the best way to trim the back of a string? I guess I could make this a string builder. Would that allow me to do that without just clear the end without rebuilding the whole string? Say remove last. Remove that name buffer dot for one minus one. But I should only do that if there is something in there. So if it's, I believe it would be just a new line that would get interpreted from the enter key. This is when I have to do something. It's more like the commit of the actual thing. This is like the most important case, really. same rule applies here. Let's leave like something there. Just make sure that works. If you're watching, Scott, I think I turned the music up a little bit from what I had before. Does that sound alright? I mean, is it coming through this time? That works. Oh. The enter key is not the new line character. So, what is it? Oh, it's the carriage return. Got that. Perfect. That's what we want. Okay, so we've gotten that. We can enter a name in minimally. Again, I'm trying to just get this vertical slice working all the way through. Then I'll go back through and polish everything up. And make everything invincible. Create a program with a name. Here's my program name. What do I actually need to do here? What is a program within this? Now these are programs, but they're kind of like firmware programs, or ones that I need to have like the concept of a maybe these shouldn't be considered programs. There are more than programs that you get in, because you're gonna have like I mean, you're gonna have the data that comes with it. I guess it's just a self-contained executable or whatever. Okay. But anyways, so the fantasy console has to have the concept of like a memory space that it works in that's going to hold this. So I guess we'll just tease this out a little bit. What am I actually creating? I'm going to conceptualize this as a cartridge, maybe, or no. It's the naming. When naming gets hard, you know that you've got to rethink the domain a little bit here, because these are, I'm creating a program in a program that creates programs, but I'm not going to be creating just a program. It's going to be like a special program. It'll be like a user program, or like I guess I could just call it an executable. Yeah, let's just call it an executable for now. We'll come back to that. Naming. I don't know that these all belong in this directory together. I mean, it is kind of like a program. But it's going to have its own memory space. And this is where things are going to start to get a little tricky. So we create this guy. We need to have data associated with it. So it's stuff that we don't have already. So this is memory that gets brought in. Now, one thought is that this is just purely a data object, and these have to get loaded into special buffers, so, and then run. Within the console, or I could just run them from here. I suppose that this could be your executable file, not think about it as that I'm creating a program, even of a customer. We'll come back to this. I gotta think about how this works from. Okay, so in theory here, what you're gonna have is some sort of a. These menu options will be the list of programs. You know, why do I call them progs? I want to call them games. That's what I should call them. Which is what I think I did in my other one. Program. So this is your root menu. Go that route. Not sure this really fits quite. I need to look at how this is going to actually run, and how it's going to be available to the API and all of that. So what I'm thinking is that you've got some sort of, I mean, really it's a file, and the file, when you're creating the program, you're creating a file that's going to contain all of the data that you need to execute. And that has to get loaded up into buffers, and then the program will run and execute stuff through the API. So the thing that is missing here that you don't currently get, sorry, here, when I say here in memory, is the like the graphics, so sprites and stuff like that. Those ones aren't firmware. They got to get loaded in by something. It's not, it'll be part of the system to do that. So I suppose I could put together the concept of a virtual drive or something here. Disk drive or hard drive, just to say it easier, hard drive. And I'll create the file of a specific size, and that's the thing that you're actually modifying with the tooling. Then when you execute it, we'll read that, the whole contents of that in, and then it will drop it into, yeah, okay. So let's put together an abstraction for the now the question is, you know, how am I going to store this? It'll be under one virtual drive, you know, data, or am I going to have individual files for each game on the actual physical hard drive? Because this is, in that case, this would be more like a this would be more like a file IO hard drive buffer. I mean, it's a driver. There's a lot of good questions here that I haven't thought through yet. I think in my FC85, which like I said, never finished, I actually built like I wanted the concept that you had a single file that contained all of the data. So it was kind of like you had a, a virtual memory or whatever, and you only had so much of it. Or like a SIM card, or you had a small solid state hard drive within the calculator. Now, how I think games like Pico 8 do this is they store it normally, but you can actually store it in these image carts that they have, which just contain all of it, and they do it through this really cool technique that I've played with before, where you store in a single pixel of an image, you can store in the last 2 bits of every channel a byte's worth of data, and you spread that out throughout the image, and that's how you're able to do this. I really like that technique. It's really cool. But maybe I should go back to the idea here of I create a game. Let me just do what I am calling it and stop trying to overthink it. I'm going to create a game. So take this game and need to. So what is the game itself? Is going to. I mean, essentially, what it's going to be is a particular. It'll be a byte array that represents. Well, it's not going to be really a byte array. It's going to be like a sprite buffer, and there'll be other things I need to add in music and stuff like that. But just to start, I'm going to do sprites and just sprites and the code itself. So the code will actually come in as a string of data. I mean, I might want it not stored as a string. I might want to actually make this like a char array or something like that. Because I want this to be like thought of as contiguous chunks of memory, and there's a finite amount of that you can actually use. But just like I did with that other, we'll figure that out later. So during execution, I know I will need a in memory. And this is really part of your display. We'll call this graphics instead. So in this case, you would take a sprite buffer. Now the game itself will have a sprite buffer that will get saved in and out of. And really, do I need that? So when I actually do this, when I create a game, all I'm really doing at that point, I don't think I actually need to model this like this at all. All I'm doing is transferring data in and out of some named object or named file or something like that. So when I create a game, what I'm really doing is telling the fantasy console to, hey, you know, wipe out the sprite buffer, and wipe out the code buffer, per se, and wipe out anything that is specific, like a runtime thing. So just for the sake of keeping this figured out, I'll go down here and say this is trying to just organize this in my mind as I go. I mean, sprite buffer depends on the palette, and it'll use the graphics and all that. But I want to think of this as game data. So when I load up a game to run it, or to edit it, I really have to have some sort of contextual. Maybe this is a top level thing like display mode. Yeah, I mean, theoretically, even create game or edit game or these C# code written things could use this. So what if I do this? So I've got sprite buffer and code buffer. These are the things that I'd be filling up. And then I have something like maybe I limit the number of characters inside of a we'll flesh this out more. Active game, let's just call it for now. And I realize this doesn't have a setter either, does it? So this will probably be a root level API thing, sys API to say, just like run program. I didn't put that, did I? Yeah, maybe it does belong there, or maybe it belongs here. We'll figure this out. It'll all make itself apparent as I go. Okay, so what we're going to be doing here is saying efc mem dot game is the name, and then we'd have to clear that. Probably. We'll figure that out later. So to start with the game, all you're doing is loading up the game into active, like what's your active file. It's like loading a process, and then you're clearing out the buffer and code. Now, if you came from a file, you would actually provide the sprite buffer and the code with it. Or if you save, store, I guess, would be the thing of it. What you're going to do is take these things out, put them into a file. So maybe what the idea is instead of always doing this is that well, let's stick with this for now. I don't think I'm going to give the concept of a rename at this point. So store would actually read sprite buffer, code buffer, save. not much. Realize that the API that I want to build with the web API thing isn't going to really contribute much to this, because you could just do this via file, but I suppose with the API at least you can actually execute some stuff like loading it dynamically, or you can send signals to it to do something. This is loading the active game. So how this looks is that when you're in this state right here, your game is in memory. The code and the sprites and everything that comes with it, all of the data has been loaded into memory. When you run it, that will actually compile the code and execute it. Edit will just launch the web browser to allow you to do things, and then exit obviously will unload it. The thing is with storing it or saving it, does that happen automatically? So there should probably be like a save here, or maybe that's a function of edit, but it just, whenever you're editing it, you can't really undo. A lot to think about. A lot to think about, everyone. But I'll take this out because I don't know if I'll need it yet. So really what I'm doing when I'm doing this is I'm saying API.load and then giving it a name. So I could just be more explicit and say this is load game. And I'm going to do I still go to the mouse whenever I do this. That's what that does. Goes to the game menu. Game menu. Which is going to be set up very similar to the red menu. During init, it will create a single tab. I do suppose we need the oh, the name will actually be your API dot. This would be a top level one game, which is a getter for the mem. All right, and this will be a single tab run, edit. Maybe save. Take that out. That's not my thing. That's it. Now, my initial thought is if you're just coming off of Create Game, it actually wouldn't load you right into this game menu. This would only be if you select it from that top level menu. It should launch you right into Edit Game, was my plan. So I'll leave that game menu there because I'm going to need it, but this is the Edit Game. And this is where we get into fun. So draw is going to be, I think, I'm just going to copy this one more time. And this will be our game name. We'll make this thing so maybe what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 or 6 rows down. Let's say 6 rows down and maybe 2 in. I don't know. Edit that. This. And then the plan was to put at the very bottom row that's bad for now, people will get what it means. And this is actually 0, but it's at the API dot text buffer height. Should change this to like text output or something. Gosh, I need to better name text input versus text output. So the flow here should be new game. Oh. I forgot to clear that out. No. Forgot to construct it. perfect. That's exactly what I want to see. All right. Let's go ahead and say, okay, so now we've got our basic flow working here for create a new game, enter it in. Now we've got the edit page with a URL which we're supposed to go to edit, but obviously that is not working yet. So we will go and do the fun stuff here. So this is where I've got to get a little creative, I think. So the idea here is to launch a browser or start an ASP.NET Web thing, launch a browser, and then go. I don't want the core of this knowing anything about that web input, other than to notify the user where to go. I guess there's that. But so how does this call back out is the question. It's like there has to be a certain provider, or there has to be just a signal I send back and forth so that the update loop knows, and then I run the ASP.NET thing in a separate thing. So I could do something like this. Kind of in the same way that there in memory is this active game name, which again I want to make this a fixed size, and like there is and maybe this should really be like an ID, and then the name comes out of something else, but comes out of the data, like a metadata struct with fixed memory and stuff like that. Anyways, and like display mode, I should have something like an edit mode flag. And what it'll do is it'll be responsible for both starting up and then stopping, ultimately stopping the thing. So just make a flag here. So upon init, I'm going to say API dot game. Something like that. Come on. What the heck did you do there, stupid? Okay, and all this thing does, this might be a non-public API and probably won't. Just like run game, load game. Sets edit mode true. Now, when we are back in the outside world here, we're going through our update loop. We're doing a bunch of input stuff. We tick through our normal execution. edit mode. Sharp launch browser. But this is an open issue, explains it. This is from 2016. This can't be true anymore. What did they add? Oh, this is an Artemis core. Derp, derp, derp. I'll just try it. What's the worst that can happen? Of course, port and all that needs to be negotiated out. I just want to see if it'll actually launch the browser. Oh. Browser. Well, this is still really the answer. Stupid. Nope. I do not like that one bit. Then put this sucker down here though. Oh, error. YouTube is not receiving enough to maintain smooth streaming. Ooh. That's not good. Looks like my stream is kind of cutting out. That's no good. Wonder if it'll help if I stop recording. I mean, the other side seems like it's fine. If I refresh this, if it's still that way. Ew. Well, sorry if this is coming through crappy, guys. I am recording it locally as well. Might just re-upload. I don't know. Well, it's a live stream. Boom. Oh my gosh. That was a bad idea. Can you spot the problem? Every time it's edit mode, it triggered, so I need to know that I haven't already started edit mode. So something like actually, what I should do here is set this always to I do this here. So first time through, what would happen is it would set it to false, false, false. First time through to get it true, and then the next thing would immediately fail. So yeah, this has to come after it. I can't do it on the same loop. Yeah, it started a bajillion Chrome instances when I did that. Oof. Oh, did I lose my... Oh, I probably did. I'm gonna check on my phone to make sure this is still coming through at least somewhat okay. Apparently I lost connection at some point in time. That doesn't seem too bad. I guess I'll just keep going. But yeah, it looks like it's a little chunky. Alright. Let's see if I get a single browser this time. Good. I was going to say, what do I have running at 8080? Now, it won't relaunch it if I close it here. It would have to be run again. And I got to make sure escape doesn't actually exit you out of a thing like that. So the other thing I want to do here then is embed an ASP.NET thing. Now, I've done something like this before, I believe. But I don't know if I have it stored somewhere where I can just look at it. Did I do this as part of MonoDev maybe? No, I would have done this as part of Cold Steel maybe. One iteration of Cold Steel. Nope, v2 doesn't show up. Oh. Yeah, so I start just a new task, and then I create a web host and create a default builder and all that stuff. Nope. Well, let's give it a try. Now the question is, do I need to, install the latest version? Does run actually return anything? Do that. It's not what I'm looking for. Is it bad about that? Yeah, I shouldn't be using 2.2 anyways. What I'm going to do is take all that out. I'm just going to start a class or a web app to capture all this stuff. I'm going to make it as a library. Can't ever find anything in this anymore. I really like the way they used to have it. There we go. Let's see, 360 dot editor API. I think I've got everything on. I think I should try it. I can always set it back. I'll do everything as that. I'm not going to use that. To include swagger or not. I kind of wanted to keep this really simple and clean without all the cruft, so you know, I'm gonna take it off for now. I'll just add it in later if I need to. Okay, so in here then, this needs to become... Okay, I need to update these to be 5.0. I need to change this to be class library. And this is what I will be getting rid of that. And this will do that. I think I can get rid of that. Delete that. Delete this. Program. I suppose there's launch settings here that come in normally that are not going to be coming in. Fun. I wonder if I just move these up. Well, I'll see what happens. I'm sure I'll get a bunch of console output. Let's just try it. So 8080 is obviously not where this is going. But where is it going? Could have aired out. I suppose I would have no way of knowing. Let's check the debug log down here. Nothing. Well, the thread exited, so... Well, if it was this, it would be at 5,000. And nothing. You don't actually need use NVC anymore for this. That's cool. Let's set a breakpoint here too, just to step through. Come on. Oh, I'm getting tired. Well, it does run. It ends. Where is that actually going? I guess I never actually looked to say, am I going to weather forecast? Is it just... Why does this feel like it wouldn't really run? You know what I'm going to do is run this just see what happens. Should just hold up the thread. At least you think it would. Probably missing something big. Oh. How about that? That looks promising, though. Hey, there we go. Sweet. Which means this runs through here. I wonder how I shut down just the HTTP part of it. I mean, in theory, I could just have this always running. Instead of launching it, I just launch it every time that the thing runs, and the only thing that I really do when you create a new game or go to the edit mode is to actually launch a specific tool, with the default being a browser pointed at a specific tool. I think that would probably be the best way to go. I think. So this just gets to be like, this is an initialization task. Of course, I need to pass this URL in at some point in time. Plus, I need to know what happens if you launch 2 of them. There has to be a range of IPs, and it's got to try it. But if I launch that to start... Oh, hey. Why did it do that? Did I delete something? I must have. Oh, you know what? I know what's the problem here. So that's why you still have to do the base.initialize. Because base.initialize in MonoGame calls this load content here. Which is what was loading the sprite batch. So I'll get a page there, and then I'm going to call it good for tonight. So we'll get rid of... Can I do that without... Simply an API controller. Should still work. It's just the root. I do want this to eventually return JSON just straight up. But I want to use like HADOS and stuff and make it like a real API. But for now I want to just return something. like to keep this around for references because I haven't done this in a while, but nah. A while, I would speak like a couple months ago. Is it like just forever ago? Don't need this. This junk. I like how they streamline this though. Holy cow. Just constantly removing crap that you don't need. Alright. So in theory, when I hit edit, it should say hello. Now the final thing would really be to do have it pop up and actually just say the current game name here, just to make sure that I can pass that in appropriately, which shouldn't be too bad. I just have to figure out how to get into this. Into the configure services here. I think I can do could have like a, does this give you the option to actually construct it yourself? Maybe if there's a option to pass something into it. Can I do this here? Then I should be able to, and I'll change this away from that, but add a dependency to core so it knows about access those things. Home services. See. Perfect. I think that's where I'll leave it for tonight. All right, for those of you who haven't followed along, I do want, I gotta put this in the comments about where you find this, but it's on my GitHub here at FC Rakowski FC360. Like I said, I gotta probably drop this in the comments on the thing. Maybe I'll do that after the stream ends. All right, I'm signing off. Sorry about the interruptions. Apparently my connection gets hosed up in the middle of it tonight. So I will be back streaming tomorrow, probably in the morning again. And then I'll probably stream a few times tomorrow. And then Friday I might try to do some other just non-streaming video for YouTube, because I'm really just going hard at this. So please like, subscribe, hit the notification button. You'll know when I'm going live, all that stuff, or when I release some new content. Thank you very much. Have a good night.